Hayley Mills was born on April 18, 1946, in London, England, into a family where creativity was not just encouraged, but lived daily. Her father, Sir John Mills, was one of Britain's most respected actors, while her mother, Mary Hayley Bell, was a gifted writer whose imagination filled their home with stories and intellectual curiosity. From an early age, Hayley absorbed the rhythms of performance, listening to conversations about scripts, rehearsals, and character work as naturally as other children heard bedtime stories. Yet this artistic upbringing also carried quiet expectations. Surrounded by achievement, she learned early that talent came with discipline and responsibility. Though nurtured with love, she was keenly aware of the standards set around her. That balance of encouragement and pressure shaped her sensitivity as a performer and laid the emotional groundwork for both her remarkable success and the private struggles that would later accompany it. A star emerges far too soon. Hayley's natural ability became unmistakable when she appeared in Tiger Bay in 1959 at just 11 years old. Her performance was strikingly mature, filled with emotional intelligence well beyond her years, and critics took immediate notice. Winning the BAFTA Award for Most Promising Newcomer should have been a moment of uncomplicated triumph, but it also signaled the beginning of intense professional momentum. Almost overnight, Hayley transitioned from a child discovering acting to a public figure expected to deliver consistent excellence. Her innocence and sincerity captivated audiences, but behind the scenes, the pace quickened dramatically. Scripts arrived faster, expectations grew heavier, and the margin for error disappeared. Though she loved acting, she was still learning who she was. That tension between joy and responsibility became a defining feature of her early career, even as the world celebrated her effortless charm. Becoming the face of Disney's golden era, Hayley Mills' partnership with Walt Disney Studios transformed her into one of the most recognizable young faces of the 1960s. Beginning with Pollyanna in 1960, she embodied optimism and emotional warmth in a way that felt genuine rather than manufactured. Audiences responded not only to her talent, but to her honesty. This success continued with The Parent Trap in 1961, where she took on the technically demanding challenge of playing twin sisters with distinct personalities. The role required precision, emotional range, and stamina, all under intense scrutiny. To viewers, it looked magical. To Hayley, it was exhilarating and exhausting. She was carrying a global phenomenon while still navigating adolescence. Disney presented her as endlessly cheerful, but maintaining that image required emotional discipline far beyond her age. The contrast between public perception and private experience quietly widened during this time. The pressure behind the smile. By 1961, Hayley Mills was living a life defined by schedules rather than seasons. Film shoots, press appearances, rehearsals, and interviews blended into one continuous cycle, leaving little room for rest or reflection. While audiences saw a confident young star, Hayley felt the weight of constant expectation. She has spoken candidly in later years about the fear of disappointing those who believed in her, particularly Walt Disney, her parents, and the crews who relied on her professionalism. At 14, she understood responsibility, but not yet balance. Fatigue became normalized, anxiety quietly internalized. She learned to perform through exhaustion, unaware that this pattern would leave lasting emotional imprints. Stardom brought privilege and opportunity, but it also demanded emotional self-containment. During this whirlwind period, she filmed a television episode that would later become deeply personal to her, not because of scandal or controversy, but because it captured her at a moment of inner fragility. The episode she cannot revisit. Unlike her celebrated Disney films, the television episode Hayley filmed in 1961 occupies a very different place in her memory. She has explained that it was recorded during a period of relentless work, when physical tiredness and emotional strain had reached a quiet breaking point. Looking back, she recognizes signs of exhaustion she could not articulate at the time. Still photographs from the episode remind her of how overwhelmed she felt, trying to meet expectations without fully understanding them. For Hayley, watching that episode would mean confronting a younger version of herself who was simply trying to endure. It is not the quality of the production that troubles her, but the emotional truth embedded within it. She has described it as seeing herself surviving rather than living, and that honesty makes the memory too raw to relive. Performance and self-doubt at 14. Another reason Hayley avoids revisiting the episode lies in how she perceived her own performance. At the time, she felt uncertain, inexperienced, and deeply self-critical. The script required emotional nuance she did not yet feel capable of delivering, and that insecurity stayed with her. Even now, the idea of hearing her younger voice or watching her expressions evokes discomfort, not because she failed, but because she remembers the fear of failing. That episode represents a moment when her confidence lagged behind her responsibilities. While audiences often assume child stars possess boundless assurance, Hayley's experience was the opposite. She was aware of her limitations and afraid they would be exposed. Revisiting that performance would reopen those feelings, which she has chosen to leave in the past as part of self-preservation, growing beyond childhood stardom. As Hayley matured, she consciously reshaped her career, moving away from child-centered roles and into more complex adult performances. She worked across film, television, and theater, demonstrating resilience in an industry not always kind to former child stars. Roles in productions like The Trouble with Angels and later The Flame Trees of Thika showcased her depth and adaptability. Rather than chasing fame, she focused on craft, choosing projects that allowed emotional honesty. This gradual evolution helped her reclaim control over her artistic identity. Each role became an act of redefinition, proving that her talent was not confined to childhood charm. The lessons of her early years informed her choices, encouraging boundaries where once there were none. Through this process, she transformed early pressure into quiet strength. A life balanced by perspective and choice. In her personal life, Hayley Mills experienced relationships, motherhood, and long-term companionship that grounded her beyond the screen. These experiences gave her perspective on success and vulnerability, teaching her that fulfillment does not come from constant visibility. With time, she learned to protect parts of her past without denying them. The episode she refuses to watch is not rejected out of regret, but out of understanding. It represents a moment that served its purpose and no longer needs revisiting. Hayley has spoken gently but firmly about this boundary, emphasizing that not every memory must be relived for meaning to exist. Her ability to articulate this reflects emotional maturity earned through decades of self-reflection and lived experience. A legacy defined by grace, not nostalgia. Today, Hayley Mills is remembered not only for iconic performances, but for navigating early fame with honesty and dignity. Her refusal to watch that single episode is not an act of avoidance, but of self-respect. It acknowledges the complexity of growing up in the public eye and honors the emotional reality behind polished images. By choosing which moments to revisit and which to leave behind, she models a healthier relationship with legacy. Her story reminds us that success often hides unseen costs, and that strength sometimes means letting the past remain where it belongs. Hayley Mills's enduring influence lies not just in the roles she played, but in the quiet wisdom she gained from living them.